Hello everybody, welcome to Selectives Lorecast. This is a solo short one by Lejavion Saunders, aka IceFireWarden on the Elder Scrolls forums, basically everywhere. Since I don't have internet, I can't do the hangout thing with everybody else, so I'm trying to, contribute in my own little way by talking about little topics that always intrigue me. And today's topic is, which is kind of spawned off of the Lorecon video that Selectives released yesterday. Not yesterday, but released earlier this month, was the Daedric Princes and their relationships with the mortals. So I wanted to talk about that, sort of elaborate on that, because it's always kind of intrigued me a little bit. And I have my own little personal, thoughts, and so I'm probably gonna mix into it. So yeah, the Daedric Princes of Oblivion they reign 16, or really 17 in number, with Jiglag released after Shivering Isles. But they've always interacted with Nirn since times immemorial. The first mention of them was by, I think, in game was by Hail the Pius or something like that. High King of Skyrim of some certain era that was, he talked about like Boetha and Mehrunes Dagon and stuff like that. But that was like, they've always been on Nirn. They always interacted with the mortals. They've always sort of been there. And which is always kind of like, maybe like wonder why they're so invested in Nirn with their, the myths of the world always paint them as selfish figures. That when Lorcan went to the Aedra, to the beings that would become the Aedra, and they was like, yeah, we'll help you with Great Mundus and stuff like that. And they was like, oh, okay with it. But when he went to the Daedra, they were all like, no, we don't want to help you with it, and we're just gonna like make our own stuff and not sacrifice any of our power, just be at full strength all the time. So they're always kind of painted as this selfish, uncaring sort of all-powerful beings of the Elder Scrolls universe that really can't understand mortality and stuff like that. That they just that people think they're evil. Most of the people think they're evil. Some people think they're good, but they're really not good or evil because they can't really they can't really comprehend the concept of mortality, and that's like the really biggest milestone between them and the races on Tamriel and the rest of Nirn, because they can't really understand what makes mortals upset, what makes them happy, what makes them angry, what makes them sad and lonely and stuff like that. They can kind of understand it. They can't really understand it to a really deep point, to the point where they know exactly what they're feeling, because they've never been mortal themselves. You had to be be immortal to be able to comprehend mortality. Like how in Skyrim the dragons can't comprehend the Dragonrend sound, because Dragonrend really makes them, like, for the first time in their entire lives, really comprehend the concept of mortality, and that's like stuns them so much that they have to forcefully land on the ground and just like sit there just thinking about dying, which is kind of like a really screwed up shout, but in the same way it's a really ingenious shout by the Nora tongues that makes them really understand what it feels like to be the people that they subjugated to all that crap during the dragon cult. But Daedric Princes, there are 17. I'll try to remember all. I think I will. It's Azora, Boetha, Hermias Mora, Hyrcene, Jiglag, Mehrunes Dagon, Meridia, Mephala, Malakath, Molag Bal, Hurriites, Sanguine, Sheogorath, I know I'm missing like Clavic Spy. I skipped him like so long ago. Baramina, and I know I probably missed like one more. I might have gotten them all though, but yeah, those are like all Daedric Princes of Oblivion, the ones that we supposedly know about. I think I like the scheme of the Daedric Princes as being 16 plus 1, because it always sort of like I don't know. It just sounds. I don't know. It's kind of more interesting than just having like a certain number of Daedric Princes. I wouldn't mind there's actually Daedric Princes that we know about, but at the same time, I kind of like want these that we do know about sort of being like they're like the head of the Daedric monarchy. You have like the little other Daedric Princes that basically got pushed aside when these 17 rose up. Basically went 16 because Sheogorath weren't Sheogorath was a real prince back during the part of the Foundation of Oblivion. But those 16 came up and they basically just pushed all the opposition aside, and they kind of like said that, hey, we're the head honchos of Oblivion and we're here to stay, and you guys don't like it, y'all can get the hell out, basically. To all the Daedric Princes, which is really kind of fits their whole theme. But to me, the Aedra and the Daedric Princes have a lot more complex relationship with mortals, and I personally think that the Daedric Princes actually love mortality more than they letting on. They love the mortals on there more probably than the Aedra. Which is a really strange thing to say, but that's what I really think. That they're secretly trying to get mortality, get the mortals to, on Tamriel, and maybe even Yukuda and Almora, Aldmeris, this might be real or not, or Akavir, which is in the future, and stuff like that. They're trying to get them to exceed their expectations that are put down on them and become what they need to be, become more powerful, become legends and stuff like that. And I say this because although the Aedra, there's although they created Mundus, they're not always there. So they're like basically half dead comatose gods. They have planets that the mortals are able to see through aurories. They can see the 8 planets of the divines, and Manamarco, when he's Necromancer's moon orbiting around Arcade. They can see the Aedra and the planets, but you can't see the Daedra. And I always thought that was because there's 8 divines and 16 princes. So for every divine, there must be 2 princes behind it. So if there's a more powerful telescope in the Elseworlds universe, you'll be able to look past the 8 Dominion planets of the divines and see like the 2 Daedric Princess planets behind that particular divine. It's like Akatosh might have Hermaeus Mora and Periite behind him, or Zenodar might have Clavicus Vile and Blah Blah behind him. The Daedric Princes that kind of like are tied into that particular Aegis sphere. But that's beside the point that I was trying to bring up. I kind of got a little off track and everything, so I apologize for that. But what I'm trying to say is that the Daedra are more invested in the lives of mortals than the Aedra. It's for a reason that they don't want to tell anybody about. But the Aedra, yeah, they're dead. They're comatose. They're barely alive. They're only somewhat influencing Nirn to an extent. Because the Earthbones, they sacrifice themselves completely to Nirn. They create the land, the flowers, and the trees and stuff. Yifri and stuff like that. Or Jeffrey, whoever his name is, or her. But the rest of them became like the founding principles of the world. Time and nature and love and sex and stuff like that. But the Daedra, they sort of realized that the divines couldn't really interact with mortals, so they sort of kind of came in and they kind of helped a little bit with the creation of Mundus. Without Mundus, the Daedric Princes would be bored as hell. They would have nothing to do. I think they kind of regret that they didn't help with Mundus. They don't really, they don't really show it, and they don't really talk about it, but I think a little bit that they kind of regret not helping with the Mundus endeavor, or at least doing something that, to, make it more better. Because they're always involved with Mundus. They're always trying to do something with Mundus. They love Nirn. They really love Tamriel, because that's where like a lot of their their Aedra brethren, their the divines and everything kind of really kind of place everything important in Tamriel. So they're always at Tamriel. They're always trying to make things happen in Tamriel. they really have a huge, they have a Daedric boner for Tamriel, which sounds really weird, but they do. They have a Daedric boner for Tamriel. But yeah, they want to, they basically want mortals to know that they have gods and that they're here. The Daedra are basically like the parent that is both, they can be both crappy to you, but both are also caring to you, and they sort of want you to exceed, their expectations, and they want you to be a better person, or they want you to be a more powerful person. Probably more. That's more like the Daedric spears. They want you to be more powerful, but not probably as a better person. But while the Aedra are sort of like the parents that aren't always around, but they're always they're always there, and they kind of like, that they're there and that they always watching after you, but they don't really talk to you and stuff like that. So they're sort of like the neglectful sort of parents, while the Daedra are sort of the more assholey parents, but they're always in your life and stuff like that. So you kind of it's kind of like the little like children like parents metaphor thing that kind of really like really kind of clicks in my head. I probably didn't really explain it good enough on the video, but partly like, yeah, that's what I kind of see what they're like. But the Daedra are basically are trying to make it that the divines aren't just I think they did. I think the Daedric Princes are looking at the divines like sort of like with kind of disgust, because they created a world and they don't do shit in it, and that's kind of a cruel thing to say, but because they like they sent Pelino, the freaking Starmane Knight, he basically committed genocide on the Iliads and every other mer race in existence, tried to go to elsewhere and kill the Khajiit. Alkosh came and kicked his ass out. They did the Starmane Knight. They did a bunch of other stuff. The Omelet Kings. Dragonfires. The Morris. They do stuff. They don't do a lot of stuff. They don't do the amount of stuff I think the Daedric Princes want them to do. They really want them to be invested in their creation, but they're not. And it's not their fault. I mean, it's kind of their fault, but it's not really their fault. They did invest a lot of their power into the endeavor to create, Nirn. And now they're like half-dead, comatose deities that can't really do crap. And the Daedric Princes, though, they're frowning down that, and they're just like, you guys created like this huge playground, and you're not playing in it. This is what their Daedric Princes are saying. And they're like, well, you guys not gonna play with it. We're going to maintain it and play in it ourselves. Which is what they see Nirn and Tamriel as. A playground that they have to make sure people use and play with, and, make sure it's always, at its proper, up to order, basically. So you kind of see like that, you always see like if there's a Daedric Prince plot, it's sort of kind of like another Daedric Prince sort of interfering with it a little bit. Like the plane meld in ESO, Mullerball wants to. That's an actually really good example of how the Daedric Princes really want Tamriel and Nirn sort of for themselves and stuff like that. How they're invested in it, because Mullerball wants to fucking basically combine Nirn with his plane of Oblivion, which is already a horrible copy of Tamriel, but he wants the real thing. And the other Daedric Princes, at least I think that the other Daedric Princes are really trying to stop him from doing that. The reason why you don't really get to see the Daedric Princes in that much in ESO is because they're outright like fighting against Mullerball in Oblivion, trying to get him to stop the play meld, because they kind of want him to, they like Tamriel too. They like to be able to play in the playground, basically. If Mullerball is in sole control of the playground, he's not gonna let them play in it, so they're gonna fight against Mullerball. And you actually see Meridia outright fighting against Mullerball, even though she's more doing it for Iliad worshippers. She does help the Vestige in ESO, stop the play meld and kick Mullerball out of Nirn. And I don't know if the Vestige becomes a Dragonborn or not. I don't think they There was that whole thing about Mana Marco being a Dragonborn and stuff like that, which is, that's the perfect guy to be a Dragonborn, the freaking necromancer, one of the most evil dudes in Tamriel history, and he's the Dragonborn. Like, Mana Marco just comes back and he just sits on the ruby throne, like, yeah, I'm like freaking king now, but Meridius outright just helps you against Moloch Ball, and you win. Same thing kind of happens in sort of like a little bit kind of happens in Blood Moon. Higher Scene wants to take over Soul's time and stuff like that, and you kind of see that even though the Nevergreen isn't necessarily Azura's puppet, he does kind of goes out and stops Higher Scene, and you kind of see that you can kind of in a loose term say that was an act of Azura against Higher Scene. Or during the Oblivion Crisis, I don't think there's really a lot of Daedric Prince stuff like that. That's more outright divine against Daedra, which doesn't really ever like happens that much. It happens in it happens in like the ancient times before histories and stuff like that. But that's a good example of divines outright saying no to the Daedra. Like, even though I don't think that's Akatosh that manifests to fight Meiru's Nengon, I think that was when Martin breaks the Omelet Kings, all the Dragon Souls inside of it, Elysia's Bazaar, the Man Bull, Tyrosethum possibly, all Uriel, everybody basically inside the Omelet Kings. All those Dragon Souls come out. They go into Martin, and he manifests as a dragon due to the sheer draconic power that's inside his body, and he fights against Meiru's Dagon, and then since he can't control the power, he transforms into a statue as a result. So you can say that Martin kind of mantled Akatosh more like it, but I don't really see it as more mantling. It's more like he just had a lot of his power inside his body. He was a conduit for Akatosh's power that either died or is still alive inside the statue, or maybe even became part of Akatosh. Who knows? Who really cares? I don't really care about Mara and Septim and everything. I've never really been a big fan of the Septim Dynasty. So, but yeah. So I think that the Daedric Princes are basically trying to make sure that Tamriel has somebody to look after it. And they're looking after might look more like destroy, conquer, fucking desecrate, and all kinds of other crap, but that's what it seems like to me, that the Daedric Princes are basically trying to make sure Tamriel has a good future. And they actually have done, you can say, kind of done beneficial things for Nirn as a whole. I mean, Paragyte with diseases, he created diseases to kill people. But people might say, oh, that's horrible, now there's death and crap, but would you really want to, kind of live forever, just doing nothing, not being able to die? After a while, it'll get boring, not be able to do shit, just living forever. So he created diseases, that way people die, people can live, a balance between the death and life. And then Moloch Ball came in, and he gave vampirism, and that gives people the opportunity to become immortals again. And sure, you can still get killed if somebody, blast you with fire or stab you with a silver weapon, but still, that's still kind of immortality. All you gotta do is make sure you don't get killed or found out by anybody, and you're basically can live forever as long as you want to. So it's sort of like they really kind of competing against each other. You kind of say the Daedric Princes are competing against one another to see who can be the best mommy daddy of Tamriel, which is a really weird thing to say, but it's kind of what I think they're kind of doing. It's just sort of like it really fits in with their whole, niche, or nick, or something like that. I don't know how to say that word. Screw it. Higher Scene, he gave not vampirism. I don't know why I want to say vampirism. Lycanthropy, werewolves and wereboars and were-crocodiles and crap to the world, and I think that's because in ancient times people were going from mannish merge shapes to beast shapes to song to ideas. The dawn was fucking crazy, and I think everyone knows the Bosmer are like really into like animals and nature and stuff like that. And I think the Higher Scene created lycanthropy to be sort of like the way that the mortal citizens of Tamriel can once again get in touch with their bestial nature that they lost in Dawn. They just became like Man, and Mer, and Khajiit, and Argonian, and all the other races in between. You know, and that was sort of his gift to Midas. Like Nocturnal is the knight because you can say that she's the unknowable. She's the night that's unknowable. But she wants you to go out into the night and find the things that she's concealing. Because the day comes right after. There's no day probably in the Dawn era. After the Dawn era, the Daedric Princes came in. Nocturnal gave night. The mirror gave ugly things to she's decaying and stuff like that. You kind of say the mirror became the mirror is more into like you can kind of say that she's death, sort of, or it's kind of thought her as that, as death, because she's the lady of decay. She makes sure that things basically are dying or decomposing somewhat. So that's always what I thought about her. Sheogorath is like, I think Sheogorath is like actually brilliant in his conception. Not the character himself. The character is a bit, cause you kind of get tired of just having to listen to immortal, immature god dude that is going around like cheese for everyone. But no, I don't like that. That's a little annoying. I really just want to see a game where Sheogorath is just like cruel and assholey as hell as he possibly can be. But yeah, I think Sheogorath's conception was really ingenious on the part of the Daedric Princes. Because I always thought when they said Sheogorath was created when Lorkhan's divine spark was removed from this world, that he's a Sith-shaped hole. I always thought it was because the Daedric Princes grabbed Jiggalag after he was being a dick to him, and they literally threw him into Lorkhan's heart hole, and he fell into the Dewdrum's body into his chest, and he became Sheogorath. Because the Sith-shaped hole. What's the biggest Sith-shaped hole other than Lorkhan's heart itself? His the heart hole. So they just grabbed Jiggalag. They got the Prince of Order and shoved him into Lorkhan's chest while he was dying, and he came out as Sheogorath. Lorkhan's like the biggest corruptor basically in the entire universe, other than Sithis and above that as Padme. So it makes sense to me that Sheogorath was created when Lorkhan basically, with the Daedric Princes, grabbed him as Jiggalag, threw him into Lorkhan's chest, where he was corrupted into becoming everything he hated, which was madness, and they pulled him back out, and he was Sheogorath. But I think he was basically that's an ingenious plan to do. The Daedric Princes are pretty smart, but realizing that, I always thought that. But so Sheogorath he's sort of created to be sort of the unpredictable, nice. He was sort of he's the kind of the incarnation of an unpredictable mom or dad. He can either walk up to you and just be like, "Oh yeah, good job, son, guy, dude, you did great on your exam today," and then give you like a present, a reward for what you did. Or he can walk up to you and say, "You did horrible in this exam, and get out of my face, you're a horrible child," and just walk away, and then you're just sort of like, what the fuck was that about? So yeah, that's what all the Daedric Princes are, but I think they got together and made Jiggalag that on purpose. To me, I think that's what they did. So he can sort of, because Jiggalag was basically trying to, I think the reason why, we can actually say that Jiggalag was actually transformed to Sheogorath in the first place because he didn't care about Nerd at all. He was basically going around in Oblivion and conquering and trying to make everything his ideal vision. And I think the Daedric Princes sort of realized that he will go to Tamriel and basically fuck it up. He will basically go, and they would probably be like, he's going to destroy what the Aedra and what Lorkhan and what Magnus and what we are trying to preserve and make better in our own kind of twisted way, but trying to make it better. And Jiggalag was basically going to go and make it worse, and they sort of was like, no, and they grabbed them and they turned them to Sheogorath. They was like, you're not gonna fuck up Tamriel. We will not let you do that. We will begrudgingly let you destroy Oblivion, but go to Nerd and we will fucking kill you. That's what the Daedric Princes basically probably told Jiglag, and we didn't listen. They turned him to Sheogorath, and that makes sense to me. But I like Joel in Coda, which something that always interested me was that there are now 16 planets in the orrery of Jobel Lun's soul. He has 16 planets hanging, and I always thought that was pretty interesting because to me, I think maybe in Coda, because in Coda, at his bachelor party, the gods and goddesses of Tamriel and the heroes and everybody, they're all partying out, and they're just talking to each other, hanging out, trying to just basically give Jabal advice, or talk to him, talk to each other. To me, it seems like the Aedra really don't care about Mundus anymore. They're like, Mundus got destroyed. We're free from having to do anything with it anymore. We can go do what we want to do. That's what they basically said. They were just like, no, we don't want to be tied to Nern anymore. But that was a horrible thing we did. We're just going to let everybody on Nern just suffer. And, landfall happened. There's nothing we can do for it. The Daedra were kind of, I think, there are 16 planets. The Daedra actually did something unselfish for a change. They became the new protectors of Nern. They gave their power to Nern, and now there's, I think why Nern still looks like a horrible ball of fire and machinery instead of just a huge explosion of dust and metal just filling in Oblivion or in space. It's because the Daedric Princes came in and they gave their power to Nern to keep the remaining mortals on, Tamriel and all the other continents from being destroyed. That's what it seems like to me. I know that's probably like really far-fetched, and it's like this is basically an interesting idea I had. It's like the Daedric Princes, for once in their entire existence, realized that the thing they love most, even though the Daedric Princes say they can't love anything, but the Mundus is basically their playground, and they love their playground to the point of they gave their power to make sure that it wouldn't be destroyed entirely. They became the new Aedra of Tamriel, which is actually interesting, because to me, the Daedric Princes have always been the true gods and goddesses of Tamriel. They always have been. It's just the Aedra are figureheads. You can change the Aedra. You can manipulate who they are. Daedra, you can't. They're always going to be a Daedra. They can use different names and manifest as different people and try to fool you, but they're always a Daedra, and they've always been there. The mortals can literally matter-of-factly say that the Daedra exists because they're always interacting with the Daedric Princes, with their minions. The Aedra, on the other hand, they barely interact with them, but they're always like, oh yeah, the Akatosh is looking over you, he's looking down on you, and he's making sure that you're, being good, and he really, really appreciates that. It's like, the only divine that's really actually you can confirm as actually a god would be Talos, because people knew him and he was immortal. The other ones that they're just people that you can, they do exist. I'm not saying they don't exist, but to people in Tamriel, they exist to them too, but they never interact with them that much. They just say, oh yeah, the divines are all great, and the Daedric Princes are evil. They just want to destroy you and eat your brains. And the Daedric Princes, however, are always interacting with Tamriel, so I think they're really the true gods and goddesses of Tamriel. They're the true pantheon. The Aedra are sort of like the figureheads of their figureheads. The Daedric Princes are probably like, we don't really care. You guys really see us as your gods, but we really are your gods. They're like, yeah, we're the ones that have been looking out for you since the creation of Tamriel, and the Aedra have just been staring at you. They helped like a little bit, but all that other crap, that was us. Yeah, that was us. We protect you for a lot. We also try to kill you a lot of times too, but nobody cares about that. But we try to protect you a lot. So that's what the Daedric Princes are trying to do. They're basically the nicest, baddest people in Tamriel. they're basically the most selfish, unselfish people. And I think they're really misunderstood. They're not evil. They're not good. They're kind of are the good guys. They're looking at Tamriel as a place that needs to exist. Because without it, the gods and the goddesses, they will not be anything without Tamriel. So they're trying to make sure it keeps going, it keeps running, which I think is pretty admirable of the Daedric Princes. They're really trying to make sure that the thing that Magnus and Lorcan, Oriel, and other Aedra and other divines, stuff like that, created in the earth bones like Yifri, who got basically sacrificed themselves and stuff like that. They're trying to make sure that their creation lives on forever, and that's kind of a really like admirable thing the Daedric Princes are doing. So yeah, that's basically what I want to say on the Daedric Princes. I just want to kind of make a little video about why I think they're sort of not good or bad or evil or anything. So yeah, I'm IceFireWarden, otherwise known in real life as Lejevion Saunders, and this is a Selectives Lorecast short video about the Daedric Princes and their sort of morality, I guess, about Daedric Prince morality. So, bye.